This is the first time we've grown camelina at the research farm. It looks to be doing reasonably well despite the hail damage on June 23rd. This study is being led by Lana Shaw from the Southeast Research Farm near Redvers. But before we get into the details of this study, let's introduce you to the crop, as not everyone will be familiar with it. Camelina is an ancient grain crop from Northern Europe. It is a brassica species just like canola. In fact, if you look at their flowers, they just look like little canola flowers. Camelina meal and oil can be used for pet, equine, and human food. It can also be used to create biofuel. Smart Earth Camelina Corp out of Saskatoon contracts camelina production. They also say that demand has outstripped supply in Saskatchewan.
For the most part, camelina is not as lucrative to grow as canola. There aren't a lot of herbicide options either. However, this variety from Smart Earth is resistant to thiophensulfuron methyl, which is the active ingredient in Pinnacle. Pinnacle will provide some limited broadleaf control. Assure 2 was also registered, and it provides some grassy weed control. And they're also working to register clethoxidin, which is the active ingredient in herbicides such as Centurion or Select. Despite these challenges, camelina does have a number of attractive attributes. Compared to canola, camelina is very resistant to flea beetles. It has greater frost tolerance, requires lower rates of fertilizer, and has fewer disease and insect issues. It's also more drought tolerant and better suited to drier regions in Saskatchewan, where yields can be similar to canola. So the objective of this study is to introduce the crop to local producers and to determine the effects of seeding depth and seeding rate on yield. Our seeding depths were 1/4 inch, 1/2 inch, and 3/4 inches. Personally, I didn't see any differences between the seeding depths. At the time of seeding, soil moisture was good and near the surface. Seeding rates were 1.5, 3, 6, and 9 pounds per acre. 6 pounds per acre is generally considered the optimum rate. Definitely some visual differences between seeding rates and at our site. I suspect the higher rates will do better because the crop was thinned out by hail at our site. But I could be wrong. Let's fast forward to winter now and have a look at the results. So ECRF and Parkland College in Yorkton were one of the 5 Agri-ARM sites in total. The other sites were Scott, Outlook, Melfort, and Redvers. Lana Shaw and Ishita Patel from SURF led this study, and my presentation here is based off of their report. Here we have the main effects of seeding shallow, medium, and deep on camelina emergence. Again, shallow was about 1/4 inch deep, medium 1/2 inch, and deep was 3/4 inches. Seeding depth did not affect emergence at our site in Yorkton, where conditions for emergence were excellent. You can see emergence rates at Yorkton were much higher compared to the other locations. At Redvers and Melfort, emergence started to significantly decline with a medium seeding depth. In contrast, emergence at Outlook and Scott didn't start to decline until the deepest seeding depth had been achieved. Overall, seeding shallow was the best approach. If soil moisture conditions at seeding are good, seed shallow. So, since emergence was not affected by seeding depth, neither was yield at Yorkton. Yield also wasn't affected by seeding depth at Redvers or Outlook, even though emergence was significantly reduced by seeding deep. This shows camelina has some plasticity to compensate for lower emergence rates. Even for the deepest seeding depth, camelina emergence was more than 80 plants per meter squared at Redvers and Outlook, indicating that yields could still be maximized at this level of emergence. At Scott, seeding deep reduced emergence significantly from 59 plants per meter squared down to 24 plants per meter squared, and apparently this was enough to significantly reduce yield. Similarly, seeding depth at Melfort significantly reduced emergence from 59 down to 32 plants per meter squared, and this was also enough to significantly reduce yield. This seems to be similar to canola, where plant establishment below 40 plants per meter squared will start to decrease yield potential. Seeding deep also delayed maturity at Scott and Redvers, but did not significantly affect maturity at Yorkton and Outlook. Fortunately, increasing seeding rate significantly increased emergence as expected at all locations. In other words, nobody screwed up. However, the rate of emergence varied greatly between sites, with the best emergence rates occurring at Yorkton and the poorest emergent rates occurring at Scott and Melfort. The lowest seeding rate of 1.5 pounds per acre significantly reduced yield at Redvers, Outlook, and Scott. Yield at Melfort was significantly reduced by the 3 pound per acre rate, or lower. At Yorkton, yields were unaffected by seeding rate. The lowest seeding rate at Yorkton resulted in 59 plants per meter squared, which was apparently enough to prevent yield loss. At Redvers, Outlook, Scott, and Melfort, the emergence rates which resulted in a significant yield loss were 39, 17, 15, 23 plants per meter squared respectively. Again, this seems similar to canola, which starts to lose yield once emergence rates fall below 40 plants per meter squared. Increasing seeding rate did significantly hasten maturity as expected at Redvers, Scott, and Yorkton. Increasing seeding rate substantially hastened maturity at Scott as emergence rates were low at this site. Conclusions. Camelina is a small seed and should be seeded shallow, particularly if soil moisture conditions are ideal. Seeding deep significantly reduced yield at Scott and Melfort, and significantly delayed maturity at Scott and Redvers. Emergence rates below 40 plants per meter squared were associated with significant yield loss, similar to canola. The standard 6 pound per acre seeding rate was never associated with a yield loss. Seeding rates could go as low as 1.5 pounds per acre without incurring yield loss under ideal conditions at Yorkton. However, a seeding rate of 1.5 pounds per acre incurred a significant yield loss at 3 of the 5 sites, and a seeding rate of 3 pounds per acre incurred a yield loss at Melfort. So it's probably best to hedge your bets and stay with that standard 6 pounds per acre seeding rate. So thanks to Lana Shaw with the Southeast Research Farm for developing and leading this project, Smart Earth for providing the seed, and Adopt for funding the project.